The iPhone business chief got replaced by Apple's supplier Foxconn. And what do you need to know? Sit tight for the next 10 minutes as we go through this statement and recent news, as well as my AAPL chart analysis and price prediction. But before we do that, subscribe to our channel Stox 101 for regular stock market updates. Taiwan's Foxconn has appointed Michael Chiang, replacing Wang Chunyong as the new boss for iPhone assembly business after a hectic year in China. Foxconn's plant in China's Zhengzhou city, which is the world's largest manufacturing facility of Apple Inc.'s iPhones, was heavily affected last year after the lockdown. It was also hit by some worker unrest over payment issues, but the plant was back to full production with shipments in December, and the shipments reached about 90% of the initial plan. With all that in mind, let's analyze the charts. So as you guys can see right over now in the 1-day chart for AAPL, and as always, we'll first analyze the 1-day chart, then the 1-hour chart, and to end it off, we'll get to the 5-minute chart. Now right off the bat, we can see that we're up by 1.66% from a price of, from a price of roughly 137 to a 138.15. So what exactly is going on with the stock and what do I think of it? Well, in my opinion, Apple has always been a buy. But why is that so? Well, we'll have to take a look at a few things before I tell you guys that. First up, we can see that, of course, the trend, right? Let me get a trend line real quick. The trend has always been bullish for Apple, right? Yes, we did hit a resistance over here. Let me get the horizontal line now. I'll just quickly do this. Yeah, we did hit a resistance around 181. But why did that happen? Well, first off, of course, we all know that the markets did get really inflated around this period, right? All blue chip stocks, all large cap companies, all big stocks, they were overvalued around this point. So am I saying that Apple does not deserve to be at $181 in terms of stock price? Well, I'd say yes and no, right? It's a two-way thing. First up, of course, it did not deserve to be at $181 over here, but in the future, definitely that can be a possibility. Because first up, if we look at the PE ratio, it's 22.08, which I believe for a correct valuation should be somewhere around 18, right? So, but then again, during this point, I believe it would have been around um, probably 27 or 30, somewhere around that, right? So the PE ratio and the beta, right? These are the two things that I personally look at while looking for a long-term growth stock. And that is why I personally think that Apple is, for contrast, we'll quickly jump into Tesla. We can see that over here, first up, Tesla is at 2.56. The PE on Tesla is 37, right? That's why I believe that Tesla has always been overvalued, and it was at, over 100 in terms of PE at one point of time around its top prices. So I personally think that Apple is performing better than the entire market in, of course, in my opinion. If we talk about some support levels, we can see that we did get supported around 124. We did get supported around this level, right around this level at 130, and now finally we're currently at 138. So we did get supported over here around 135 as well, and in my opinion the next resistance is at about 140, which is somewhat psychological. Will we be able to beat it? In my opinion, yes. Foxconn replacing the business chief definitely has some effects, because then again, as you guys already know, that iPhones do account for a majority of Apple's revenues. And of course, in general, if you consider the fact that Foxconn has been the center of Apple related news ever since the entire lockdown problem started, ever since the factory got shut down for some period, right? Not exactly shut down, but I believe it was, restricted. People were restricted from moving inside or outside of the factory. I believe that was the case. And we can see that, yes, the stock did fall down real bad due to that particular thing. So we fell down from 150 almost down to 125, probably about 15% in value, I believe, 15 or 18% in value. And ever since then, we have recovered pretty well as well. We have recovered by about 10%, and I do believe that we will recover more. So this, in my opinion, is a good price to buy the Apple stock at. Yes, it might go lower, but lower is not always better. In my opinion, it is good to go with the way of dollar cost averaging. So DCA, You can definitely DCA your way in on blue chip stocks during a recession period because you'll never know what the bottom is, right? So if you never know where the bottom is, you'll never be able to time that bottom. Sure, you might know where the bottom is, but you'll never be able to time that bottom. And if you're not able to time that bottom, it's just gonna kind of ruin your trade, right? So it's better to just humble up a bit, know that yes, you cannot time the bottom. So definitely, in my opinion, whenever you feel like yes, the stock is finally at a good value now, look at the PE. If if it's around 20, under 20, that's usually a good valuation, right? The best valuation that you can get is around 12. And of course, if you can get a stock at under a 10 PE, right, under a 10 PE ratio, that is of course a bargain and that will fetch you great returns again, in my opinion, but it has been proven again and again. So you guys can go and check it out for yourself, research on your own. As always, of course, remember that this is not financial advice. Anyways, if we talk about some price predictions, in my opinion, the stock can definitely hit well over $150 this year. I won't go very optimistic because then again, banks did say, major financial institutions did say that 2023 will not be the best year in terms of performance, right? We will see a huge recession in 2023 according to major financial institutions, and if they're correct, this will definitely lead the stock down. How down? Well, I believe that we won't break these lows around 120. We're definitely not going under 110 in my opinion. So still we do have a lot of room to go down towards, but at the same time I do believe that this still is a pretty good valuation for Apple, right? Because then again, it's a massive company, the market cap 2.2 trillion. It can definitely head towards 3 trillion in some time, and that will definitely give us about a 25 to 30% return, I believe, and that should be pretty good, right? A 25 to 30% return, if achieved in 1 or 2 years, should be enough to outperform the entire S&P. So that is usually your goal when you're investing in blue chip stocks, and that is why I personally would rather buy Apple stock than buy something risky with like Tesla or Netflix with my major money, right? So if you have, let's say, $1 million, I'd rather put 900,000 in Apple and 100,000 in some risky stocks, instead of going all in on the risky stock and then losing all of your capital. Anyways, if we want to continue the analysis, we'll have to jump on into the 1 hour chart. So let's quickly do that. And now that we're in the 1 hour chart, we can clearly see over here that yes, we are still in a bullish trend. We did get a gap up. We did go up. How much, how big was the gap up? Let's quickly see. It wasn't that big in my opinion. It was only about 0.6%, I believe. And that is still a pretty decent gap up, and it does set the stock up for growth. If you get a gap up around a 1 to 1.5%, that usually means that the stock is going to get a strong pullback, in my opinion, because it's not exactly written anywhere, it's not a rule or anything, right? It's just this small thing that I've observed myself, and it applies the same way, it's vice versa towards when you get a gap down. So if the gap down is around a 1 to 1.5%, you will likely get a recovery later on in that day, right? Anyways, what matters is, yes, we did get a gap down around the perfect spot, around 0.6, and we did go up. So what is the future for Apple? In my opinion, as I already told you, it is bullish. What's going to happen today? Well, let's see. If we did go up over here towards 138, we do seem to be going down right now. We do have a massive wick on the upside and a really small wick on the lower side. So if this continues, if the candle ends this way, it will likely suggest that yes, we are going to go down and get a small pullback. And is that justified? Most definitely yes. In my opinion, it is definitely justified because if you look at the long-term trend, Apple has always been like this, right? You get one big candle to the upside, then many small candles to the downside, then another big candle to the upside, many small candles to the downside. That's just how Apple has been. Anyways, to begin our real analysis, we'll jump onto the 5-minute chart where we'll also analyze the pre and after markets. As you guys can see right here, we're now in the 5-minute chart, and the first thing that we're going to do, well, why did I do that? We're going to open up the extended trading hours, put it away from auto. We can see that over here on the aftermarket, we continued with this trend that we had built over here, right? We did get a slight pullback towards the end of this aftermarket, and then, yes, we did continue the bullish trend, got a gap up, went up, got a small gap down. Well, not exactly a gap down, it's a what do you call it? A pullback, right? So we did go up, got a pullback, continued going up, getting small pullbacks. This is a defined bull trend, but now things seem to be changing up, right? As I already told you, if you get a strong gap up or a weak gap up, right, you might go down. And at the same time, it really matters on where your TC is, right? It's more of a CPR thing, a central pivot range thing. If you get a TC around, let's say, 138, then sure, you might be, in for a bearish trend. But if your TC was around 138, and then you get your what do you call it, the R1, the first resistance around here, then you might be set up for a bearish trend. Otherwise, if you cross the R1 in the gap up, or if you're around the S1 on the gap down, you might be set up well for a strong bullish trend. Anyways, what's going to happen today? First up, first possibility, which is the most likely one, we will kind of fall down a bit, right? We'll fall down a bit. Probably towards the end of the day, we'll recover a bit, and the day of around 138. Second possibility, which is, in my opinion, a bit hard to happen. It's a bit tough. It's not as possible as the first one. We'll build on a bullish trend and continue to go up, and the day up, around 3% in the greens. I personally don't think that this is going to happen. In my opinion, we'll probably end the day off slowly around 0.8%, probably 1% in the greens. So that is why I gave you guys my prediction of about 138, 137.8, somewhere around there. So even if you look at yesterday's performance, it does signify that yes, Apple does get a strong momentum in the first few candles and then usually a pullback. That's when the strong momentum fades away, and then it's usually for a small good trend. And that is why I personally think that yes, we got the pullback, we got the strong momentum, and now we're in for a slight bull trend. We'll probably end the day off around 1 to 1.5% in the greens, but at the same time, I could be wrong. So remember that this most definitely is not financial advice, and you should always do your own research before you trade. If however you enjoyed my analysis, be sure to hit the like button. If you did not enjoy it, sure, you can hit the dislike button. You can subscribe to our channel Stocks 101 for more such videos. And as always, I will see you guys in the next one.